confirm for me if you guys are able to see and hear everything properly.
And hear everything properly. For me if you guys are able to see.
Everything's good? Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Alright, awesome. So let's get started. We're going to go from the daily time frame and down and do the same thing as always. So first of all, what's the structure like here? And then what are some support resistance levels that we're looking at? So feel free to annotate. I'm going to move this over here. Perfect. Alright, so what's the structure that we're in at the moment based off the daily time frame? Let me see if I could also pull up the weekly here. Move this here. All right, there we go. So what kind of structure are we sitting in?
Downtrend.
Downtrend at the moment, right? So then let's start off with the weekly time frame here. So what are some support resistance levels that you guys would mark off and why? So on the weekly time frame, where did we close last week? What levels were we rejecting? We're rejecting this down here, right? What about the resistance? Last week, where did we close? Or last week, what was the high that we made?
1964.
Last week, right? That's 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So right into this area, right? We rejected this area. We came right back down and closed right into this area right here. What was that?
1795.
1795? This week, right here, that was the last week candle, right? That's the bottom wick rejection right there, 1817. This is the new week candle that's about to start forming. And then last week we came and rejected this little support area, and now we're continuing back down. Correct?
Correct.
Now we're going to go down to the daily time frame. So what happened here on the daily time frame? What do we see? So you've got some high, right? And then you got a nice push that just happened down here. Ended up creating a support, pretty much consolidating into this entire area. What happens in consolidation? What's the market doing?
Collecting orders.
Collecting orders, right? And then you have a nice push up after tapping into the previous support areas. Nice push up, but still maintaining lower highs, right? Finally, you come back and push, create a new support, and then we had the short-term bullish structure. That was broken, but look at how strong the support area was here. The support was held the first time you had a nice sell-off. The support was held here again when you had a lower high being formed. You had another support, right, being respected here again. You had a break and retest support, and then you had another support here where price came back down to test the structure before continuing back up bullish. So that's a very strong level, right? So now here, if we're going to be looking for any buy or sell opportunities, what levels do we need to see being held? So you got that daily support down here, right? That's the last daily candle that closed. Now you have a pretty good range right here if you want to look for any sell opportunities to come back down and fill this wick. But if price rejects this and then continues back up, then we're headed right back into 1860. not shapes. Right into this area here. Everyone sees why?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Candle rejection.
Exactly. So now if I drop down to the 4-hour time frame, what just happened here? You had all this consolidation here, right? And then you had a sell-off happen. Did we ever come back and reject that consolidation support? We didn't, right? There's no bullish candle close there. And then what did this candle here do? These last two 4-hour candles. What level are they rejecting right now?
That's the daily.
Yeah, that daily support, right? And how do we know that this is a strong level here?
Because when you look left, there's also a rejection.
What was that?
Rejected many times.
Yeah, rejected many times. Right into these areas. So is there anything else that you guys would mark off here that would help you determine whether you're looking for a buy or a sell? Nothing? All right.
Mark.
I would be looking for
A zone right there.
What was that? You guys could annotate as well if you like.
Sorry, I will mark a zone in that level.
Which level? This one
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
So this entire area.
Yeah.
And so how would you use this zone to determine whether you're looking for a buy or a sell?
If the candle passed by and make a bullish, and then I will look for a sell,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't look for a buy at that level.
So no buy opportunities yet?
No.
Okay. So you want to see a break and retest here? Do you want to see the break and retest here on the 4-hour, or do you want to see the break and retest here on the hourly?
I will look for hourly or scalp, and
Okay.
then I will see if it continues or even the time of the day.
Okay.
Not only one thing.
Okay. Anybody else? How would you look for buys or sells here? Let's say you're scalping. How would you look for a buy or sell here? Same thing.
Okay, for me, I'm looking for a break of this low, retest coming back and then heading down if I'm going to take a sell,
Mm-hmm.
or I expect price to kind of rattle off of this for a minute. So where it's at right now, you can see there's one bearish candle, bull candle coming back in. So I want price to come up, do this, and then go up that way. Sorry for the scribble.
No worries. Yeah. So then here, let's say if the falling candle just pushes right back down, you would look for that sell opportunity right here? Or is this break and retest enough for you?
For me, no. I need to see it. I'm still working on a single candle, retest.
Mm-hmm.
So I would look for, I need a bearish candle somewhere here heading back down. I need that bull, bear, bull, and then bear again.
Okay. And then if you're looking for any buys, then you want to see that support here being held and then a break and retest somewhere here to continue back up. Okay. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, let's drop down to the 30-minute time frame. Would you guys mark off anything here or like same thing? you need your confirmations from the hourly, and then you drop down to 30-minute for entry.
Well, for me, since you have me on the 15, my confirmation would come off at the 30, and then I drop down to 15 for an entry. In this case, 1 hour for confirmation, 30 for entry.
All right, perfect. All right, would anyone else want to mark off anything, or are we good there? All right, and everyone on YouTube could see this perfectly fine, right? Okay, cool. All right, let's get started then. We're gonna do real time and kind of speed this up a little bit. So then I agree with pretty much what you said, Jamie, where if price were to break below this level, I want to see, and you too, Jen, where price breaks this zone right here and continues down, I'm looking for a sell. But the important thing here to understand is that there's a very high chance that price will only continue down to the support area that we have created from the daily time frame, right? And that's the same one that price rejected right down here last week. So there's a very high chance that we come down and we just tap into that area. Some ways that you can manage that risk and make sure that you're ending out or getting out of this trade profitable is you could take, majority of a partial as soon as price taps into 1817, and then you could let the rest of it run if it wants to continue pushing down, filling this entire wick, and then come all the way down to, tap into these support areas. Or you can just close out your entire trade here and then, come back. If you're scalping, that's pretty much what you're going to end up doing. And then come back the following day and then look at where's price headed. So we're going to start off here with the 30-minute time frame. If you guys want to take a mark 1813. What's on 1813? What time frame is the 1813 based off of? $18.30. All right. Above this area, pretty much it's close to 1827. But all right, let's do this. Let's do it off the 30-minute right here and see how price is reacting. So you got a gap up. So broke the previous 30-minute low, tapping into this one right here, into the zone. Not a confirmation just yet for that entry. I want to see those clear breaks below these areas. This is in January. Does anyone remember what was happening in January? Fundamentally.
New government.
You had the new administration coming in. I believe it was the same week. What about with the pound?
Brexit news.
Brexit? Yep. So there was a ton of stuff that the market was still trying to price in at that time, right?
Vaccines, right? Or no?
Vaccine optimism coming into.
Oh, yeah, vaccine, yes.
So we're still not breaking below this level yet. All we're doing is just retesting into this specific area. Right, so there's not enough confirmation for any sort of trade just yet. So we have a couple of minutes until this 30-minute closes right here. So if this candle can close bearish, then what are we looking for potential entry opportunities? And where would also the stop loss be? And that comes off from understanding what the structure is. The structure here is still bearish, right? So if the following candle, let's say this candle closes bearish and the following one just takes us down, then this is our TP area with the stop loss right at this level or right above it. But if this candle comes back up and it closes right into this range, oh, there you go. So that would be your entry right here. We'll push back up a little bit. Would anyone like to take this entry?
You're saying the entry was on the second to last candle there?
Yeah, so as this price is pushing up, that's pretty much where I'm looking to get that entry. Well, that's way too, obviously you wouldn't cash that in the real markets. But as the low here is being broken, that's where the entry I would take, with the TP being down here, and then you could let the runners go.
So around what, 1824?
Yeah, like around 1824 area. This is still a Monday, so I personally wouldn't go in with, going between that 1 to 3% risk. I would personally go in with probably 1% risk, not a complete 2%. So let's say you did a sell here. I'm still going to keep the TP the same here, right around this area, and that's coming from the daily time frames. So now clearly we saw the move pushing down, but it's breaking the weekly lows. I would still keep the TP here, which gives us about a 3.6 to 1 risk to reward with a 1% risk. Anyway, what was that?
And didn't it just fully recover last week, it looked like?
Yeah. Fills that wick, yeah. So the entry in this case would have been, if you were in live markets, as soon as the lows here are being broken. So I'll slow this down actually. So actually I personally wouldn't even want to count that one. But that's how that trade would be taken, right? With the stop loss right up top here. But now we're going to wait for, let's see if there's another entry that we can possibly take and kind of mimic as much as we can the live markets. So here we sped up the speed just for time purpose. So let's take a look what's happening here on, across time frames. So on the 1 hour, that's your break and retest, price continuing down, right? On the 4 hour, breaking lows, pushing down, but we're still kind of reacting off of this daily level right into this area. So now if you're looking for the next sell opportunity, I'm going to use the same zones here, or the same levels, instead of drawing out more. But let's say I want to look for another sell opportunity. It would have to be below the support right here, right? That price kind of pushed up from. And then if it continues down, then we are certain that it's going to continue all the way down to this, let's say, this level down here, around 1776. That's only if this level is broken. Go on to the weekly time frame and then continue, break of this level, continue down, you're coming right below into these areas down here. Does that make sense for everyone?
Yes.
And then if I go on to the 4 hour time frame, let me zoom out here. So on the 4 hour, that daily level that we marked off is that consolidation right here, right? So price had a nice bullish push up, came right back down into that area, into that zone, made a new support, and then kept pushing back up. So on this 4-hour time frame, what we have is all this consolidation that price just broke below. So clearly we know we're going to have enough volume to probably come back and tap into these areas of consolidation, but let's see if we're able to break below it. If we're able to break below it and then we can get another retest and then continuation down, then that would be another entry. But if price just reacts off of that, then you want to start thinking about like, okay, you clearly can't take a sell until price breaks below 1805. So then what are some potential buy opportunities that you need to look for? So I would still want to see a break and retest and then a bullish push up for those buy opportunities. We won't even count that first entry because the speed was too fast and we had already seen the move. Let me see if I could zoom out enough. So same thing here. That little support made from the hourly. So we're going to have this hourly close here in just a couple of minutes. This is the first 15-minute candle close of this new 30-minute candle. So we're pushing down. We almost have this hourly close here in just a couple of minutes. So if you guys were looking at this candle right now, what do you think is pretty much happening right now? We're not really breaking the low that this candle has already formed, right? So what does that tell us? This continuous pullback into the same range.
Seller's exhaustion.
What's that?
Seller's exhaustion.
Yeah, seller's exhaustion.
If it's Monday, it looks like it's taking all the orders from the weekend.
Yeah. We also had that gap up and then a nice sell-off from there. So we're coming right into these areas here, right? And that's what we're rejecting off of at the moment. We're not creating new lows. This is the low that price has already made, and that's the only low that it's been tapping into several times. Yeah, Salim said a liquidity grab here on YouTube. That's exactly what it is. Same thing on the daily. So now as we start to look at the 4-hour time frame, and you had all this consolidation and there's a massive sell-off, what can we expect? We've already tapped into consolidation areas to the left and the previous supports, and that's what we're rejecting. So there's a very high chance that after this sell-off, if price can give us a break and retest above these areas, then we can look for a continuation back up above this or even above this. Make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, just a few minutes and then we have this hourly close. So you got a lot of volume in that 1 hourly close. Came right into this area. This is a 4-hour time frame here, but came right into this area, and now we have this bullish push up that's happening. So that's not an entry right now, right? We want to see how this candle closes. We want to see if there's going to be any form of break and retest, and then we have an entry. Drop down to 30. So for this sake, we're not going to be entering on this candle anyways. So I'll just speed it up a little bit just for time's sake. You guys cool with me skipping on the 30-minute time frame?
Yes.
Perfect. Alright, so you got a nice bullish close on the 30. The hourly still maintaining its bullish structure. Then you have the 4-hour. Yeah, for any sort of impulse sell opportunities, this level here needs to be broken. Right? You can't really take a sell opportunity while price is still kind of hanging around the consolidation areas. So that 30 minutes breaking the high, but it's coming back down and retesting that 1817 level that we marked off. So you almost have the first 15 close of this 30-minute candle, right? So if that 15, let's say, were to close bearish, which this candle initially would be bearish, and then flip bullish, that's a break and retest from a 15-minute time frame, right? So if you were looking for a quick scalp opportunity, you could take a quick scalp coming right back up to 1827 just to retest that area. Take partials, let runners go, be risk-free, and then let everything else run. So see how that was still bearish. We're not breaking the high that price has already made. We're just tapping into it. And we're just fluctuating in the current range. That's it. So when price is fluctuating in its own range, what does that tell us? When its current highs and lows aren't being broken. What's pretty much happening?
Liquidity grab, collecting orders.
Right, and uncertainty as well, right?
Absolutely.
Where you're not breaking the highs or you're not breaking the lows. All you're doing is just fluctuating in the range. So now if I was going to zoom out, that's that little support area. We're coming right back. I personally would not look for that scalp right here. I would want to see price break above 1827, give us some form of break and retest, and then look for an entry. And what's the structure that's happening right now, that's being formed at the moment, or being tested?
Bear.
Bear structure, right? And
Yep.
where is that structure broken?
at the resistance.
right at this area. When price comes back and breaks above this, that's where your structure is broken. And that's why we're looking for a break and retest here, so then we know that we have enough volume to come back and tap into this area at the very minimum. So we have pretty much the same thing happening here, where price is kind of just fluctuating in its range. Alright, I'm gonna skip through here again, just for sake of time, and see if we do end up getting some form of break and retest. So we're still pushing up bullish, coming right back into that zone. So break above this is also flip of that 4 hour. And that 4 hour candle, we just rejected all these sellers. That's that liquidity grab. So if this flips bullish, we know that there is going to be volume. Same thing on the daily time frame. That candle flips bullish. That's when you want to be looking for your buy entries, when your daily 4 hour, 1 hour are in your direction. If this is bearish and I'm looking for a buy opportunity, the chances are that I'm not going to have a trade where I could just leave runners. So closed, rejecting that level, and now we're starting to break above it. And that's the new hourly candle that's now forming. So if you wanted to look for, let's say for example, sells, you could cash the same sells that we caught earlier. Something like that, if as price pushes up, rejects this area and it closes below this area. This 30-minute or this 4 hour candle closes bearish, and then it continues down and breaks the low that it's making at the moment. Then you can look for another sell opportunity. Same thing, keep your stop loss right above this to give price enough room to kind of retest into these areas and then continue right back down, right? And then you could target these areas down here, the previous support. But there is no sell confirmation until a resistance is clearly formed here. Now, if you're looking for buy opportunities, then same thing. Wait for this area here to be broken. Look for some form of break and retest, right? Break and retest here. Wait for price to break, and then you have a clean buy opportunity. Or even if price, shows you a lot of bullish volume here, and then gives you a break and retest and continues up, that's still a buy opportunity. The point being is candles closing above this zone and then giving a retest to continue. We've almost got this 30-minute close here. Any questions so far from you guys or anyone on YouTube either?
Oh, we're good.
All right.
The candle closed bullish, right? Then you look for the retest.
Yeah. So even here, we're pushing above the area, but I still need to see a break and retest. So now this hourly candle is also insanely bullish, but I want to see a break and retest. The 4-hour closed with a massive bottom wick rejection, and now it's breaking the previous 4-hour highs, which gives you the confirmation that we are going to continue, but it's not an entry just yet. And the daily candle is also flipping bullish. And the weekly.
Being at the weekend out right next to the being at the weekend out, if you look left, is like a small consolidation, right?
This right here.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore the entry might be probably above from that small consolidation over there.
Salim, there was no news coming out that day. The only news that was coming out is Governor Bailey speaking, and that's in New York session on Monday. It was a U.S. bank holiday on the 18th. Realistically, how many of you guys would have had FOMO and then tried to enter?
I would have been one.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah, you kidding me? Long time ago.
You gotta wait for your confirmations here.
Right now, my problem isn't a confirmation. My problem is greed. So I would have probably gotten in right about here and sat down, would just watch this thing push and just keep hoping for a pip or two. And then as soon as it does this, I'm crying like, what happened?
Yeah. Well, the good thing about Forex is that you can make money off of selling and buying, right? So then, I guess it's like easier said than done, but there should be no greed attached to it because you can make unlimited amount of money if your strategy is right.
Yeah, you still get greedy though.
You could,
you really do.
You could, right? And I understand, like, that is something that everyone kind of goes through. Like, there will be trades when I'm in a swing trade already and it's been like, a couple of days, I'm like a few hundred pips into profit. But I understand, like, we're coming to specific levels off of weekly or monthly time frames and price will react off of it. But then you're like, let me just let it run to see where it goes. And then price just reverses and you're like, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. But, the greed of wanting more.
Yes.
But that's the good thing in this market where there is always more, whether it's a bull trend, bear trend, whatever it may be. You could even scalp in consolidation zones. If your consolidation's off on a daily time frame like GJ right now, you could cash your 15, 20 pips and you could still make money. But again, it's coming back down to what's your plan and knowing the limitations and restrictions of your trade.
True.
All right, so we closed bullish right here. We're clearly still retesting these areas. I want to see this candle close bearish. A classic break and retest is what I want to see. Close bearish, and then as these highs here are being broken, because that's the level that price is currently rejecting, right? So as these highs here are being broken, then I'm looking for an entry coming up to fill the wick. Once that wick is filled, then what's the next level that price could potentially bounce off of? Somewhere around here, right? So then continue taking partials here. What I'm essentially looking for is just this movement here. this is pretty much it. Every time there's a pullback, every time there's a break and retest, every time there's a support being formed, I'm looking for a scaling opportunity. But if I don't get that and all I see is those impulsive moves, then I do not have an entry. For the rest of the week, Tuesday, not so much happening besides pre-London session. Going into Wednesday, where you have a lot of GBP data coming out, CPI, PPI, RPI. And then Wednesday, you have interest rates coming out from Canada. Also, you have President Biden speaking, Governor Bailey speaking. Wednesday is a fundamental heavy day. Thursday, you have interest rates from the euro. You have unemployment claims coming out. And then Friday is another fundamental heavy day where you have flash services PMI, manufacturing PMI coming out from the Eurozone and the US and the UK. Alright, see how we're starting to break the lows here? So even if this candle closed bullish, that would not be an entry for me because we just broke the lows. I need to see a candle respecting this area with the bottom wick not really breaking previous lows and then continuing back up bullish and then breaking these highs. And that's where my entry is going to be, when those highs are broken. And we almost have this hourly close coming up. Yeah, no worries. Maybe that's what we'll cover in our this week's webinar. Psychology again.
Yes, please, please. I'll even volunteer my brain to be dissected.
And specifically greed. FOMO? Does anyone still struggle with FOMO?
Me.
Alright. So we're gonna do something focused on those two. Alright, we almost have this hourly close in just a couple of minutes. Perfect scenario, this one closes bearish and the next one continues. That's perfect. But that would also mean that this one would have to close bullish. But this is not a candle that I would want to take an entry on. So as long as we don't break these lows here, we're good. So as long as we don't break that low and we flip, that's an entry that I'm willing to take. I'm going to speed this up for time's sake. I don't want to do this for more than an hour because then everyone's going to get bored sitting here watching a simulation session for an hour. Alright, so we're starting to make that top wave, breaking the highs. Let's see if we can break this right here. So I'm not going to count the first entry, so whatever we end up at the end, maybe there is no entry, we'll see in the next couple of 30-minute candles, but I'll just subtract that from it because we had already seen the move. Even better, made a bottom wick rejection, still closed bearish. We're tapping into these right here. Let me just get a little bit of more volume, and that's the entry that I'd take. So essentially, I want price to clear this. Not that big of a zone, but that right there. As that's being cleared, that's the entry with stop loss down here.
Couldn't you argue that that's also like somewhat basically a mini consolidation?
Sure, yeah. And then that's when you go up to the higher time frames, right?
Right.
So on the hourly, you got that bearish close. The current hourly made that bottom wick, and now it's trying to push up. That bottom wick comes from this bearish close right here.
Right.
So then if we break this, then where are we headed next? There's really nothing stopping us. Oh, so this is the entry that I would take. Right here, and then I would go in. This is an entry, since we have a break and retest with 2%, I would do a buy. And then first let's do the stop loss. The stop loss would be right below this. So if price breaks below this level, I'm giving it enough room to retest it, right? But if price breaks below this level, it's breaking the low of the previous 2-hour candles. And then that pretty much tells us that price is going to be headed in the opposite direction. Now there's really nothing stopping price until this level right here. And why is that? That's that support right here, right? This is the hourly time frame. That's that support from the hourly time frame. If you go up to the 4-hour, that's that consolidation area from the 4-hour right here into this zone. So it could be keep it down here or a little bit higher, really up to you. Go on to the daily time frame. That's that consolidation from support from the daily time frame and that resistance. So I would personally keep it at this and then have that 4-to-1 risk to reward. Does this make sense for everyone? Before we continue?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Just a quick, before you continue, is the only reason that you're willing to take the entry on the 30 despite that mini consolidation because of what you see on the 1 hour and the higher time frame?
Yes, that's correct. So on the 1 hour, I have the break and retest. I have the 4-hour in my direction. I have the the daily flipping back up bullish, breaking above that, continue back up bullish, and then the weekly as well. So I have all of these higher time frames in my direction.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
If price had closed below 1824, then I would have still waited for a break and retest. I wouldn't take an entry here without a break and retest. So we're still kind of pushing, not so much volume, right? We could check different time frames as well. So some of the things while you're in the trade that you want to be asking yourself is, let's say if this candle closes right below the zone, So do you want to be part of what could potentially happen here, first of all, right? Either it's going to consolidate and then, push one way or another, or it's going to come right back down. So then the question that you want to ask yourself is, do you want to be part of a consolidation? Or if price were to, continue in one direction or another, how would you manage that trade? So obviously if it continues in our direction, that's good for us. But we would still try to take partials along the way, if possible, right? But if price pushes right back down, and let's say you had a wider stop loss, then would you close 50%, which is what most people do? Or do you have a tight enough stop loss where you don't have to close 50%? So the reason why I keep a tight stop loss is, again, because I don't close 50%. That kind of concept doesn't work with the style that I have, which is if I close 50%, then that's me just telling myself that I'm not 100% confident in my trade. Now I'm just playing that 50-50 game of whether it's going to play out or it's not going to play out, which doesn't really make sense in trading when it comes down to risk management, at least for my style, right? For other people, it does. So then I just end up keeping a tight enough stop loss where I know that if this level is being broken, then obviously price is headed in the other direction. So now clearly that previous candle closed right into the zone and we're pushing back up. This 1 hour candle is gaining that strength, pushing right into these areas. 4 hour, same thing, breaking the highs of the previous 4 hour candles, coming right back into that zone. Daily also gaining that momentum, and the weekly. So all of them are in our direction and showing volume. So then in this case, I would still take some partials. So let's say as price is pushing up, let's say even somewhere here, maybe like, wick fill and then continuation up, doesn't really matter. Let's say for this sake, we close 30%. And then we still have a 5-cent lot running. And then move to break even. So it's a risk-free trade, taking partials now, it's just running on its own. Any questions? It's making sense for everyone so far?
Yeah, making sense.
Cool. Everyone on YouTube, you guys are good too? All right, we almost have this hourly close. Perfect. See, tapping right into those hourly and 4 hour levels right there. And clearly we're seeing price react to it. What made me enter the break and retest here? So if you go back or anything like that, if you want to rewatch this, we marked down the levels from higher time frames down to lower time frames, and then these are levels that we marked off, which is that daily support right here, right? And it kind of marks off from the weekly time frame as well. So then if we're going to look for any buy opportunities, we needed to see a break and retest above this daily support. So then we had this 4 hour candle come back and close right into the zone. This one flipped above that daily support that we had, break and retest, and then took the entry. Yeah, so let's see how this hourly closes here.
Being that the last candle closed bullish, would you have taken another 20% off of your trade? Make it 50% even?
No, I'm already risk-free on this trade, but if we fail to break the highs here, then I would take another partial, and that's because on the hourly time frame we're already tapping into these support zones. And then if you go into the 4-hour, it checks off. So
that's what I was watching, because I didn't think it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm still going to give this enough time to see how this hourly closes. This is the first 30 minutes of this hourly.
I guess that's my weakness. I would already done take half hours.
Yeah. But there's really, technically, there's nothing telling us, right? When you're looking at the charts themselves and doing technical analysis, there's nothing telling us that it's going to continue in our direction or that it's not. There's clearly exhaustion. We could see that. We just closed with a ton of volume and the falling candle didn't even break the high. So yeah, the market has to collect orders pretty soon. But right now, there's nothing telling me that the price is going to go against me.
Okay.
See, that still closed bullish.
Correct.
How often do I hit break even? Not very often, because majority of the time, if I'm already in a trade, and what I mean by risk-free personally is I would trail my stop loss. So even in this case, I would trail my stop loss. And that would be just using simple structure, right? That would be right below this or right above this, where we've already broken above this. If price wants, it should come back into this zone here, do like some sort of pullback and then continuation up, but there should be no reason for it to break below this and come back to retest this if it is going to continue bullish, right? So I would have personally already trailed my stop loss. Let's say I had done that, right? Let's say I trailed my stop loss here. All I'm really following whenever I'm taking trades and keeping it super simple, there's no need to complicate anything, is just this. We've already retested those highs, came back, created support, and we broke above these highs now here, right? So there should be no reason for price to continue all the way back down here and then continue. Like, it doesn't make sense. What's the basic bullish structure? You're creating some sort of new highs here, pull back, maybe right into these areas, create support, and then push back up. So we're breaking hourly highs and 4-hour highs, but we're tapping right into those 4-hour support areas now, and we're seeing price react off of it. So we almost have this hourly close here. If this candle closes bearish right into those zones, I would just personally close out the trade. And that's for the sake of the simulation, or else you could just let runners go and continue trailing your stop loss every time higher lows are being made. So I would just close out the entire trade here as the lows are being broken. So clearly price is going to pull back, try to create some higher lows. If it is going to continue bullish, then respect these levels here. But overall, so I'm gonna take out that 2.98%, let's say 3% from this. We're not going to count the initial trade. So around 4% off of 2% risk is pretty much what we ended up making here. So these are the most pips that we ended up getting by closing partial around 52, and then you have 75. Any questions about this simulation session? Or concerns, comments, anything like that?
It looks so easy with you.
And it really is. I mean, you guys have tested this out in your live markets.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll try to do this a little bit more often on YouTube. I think it might be helpful for you guys as well. And we're going to do this. We're pretty much trying to do this every day in the group anyways. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. But I hope this session was helpful for you guys.